Welcome to episode 8 of the Credit Card BS podcast. My name is Shaun. I'm the UC Berkeley graduate that created and taught the university-sponsored course on credit card rewards. I'm here with my co-host, Sherwin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherwin. I attend Stanford University as a student. I first got into this travel and points and miles and credit cards game about a year ago. And since then, I've opened 9 credit cards, opened dozens more for my family, and amassed a bunch of points. And we've gone on a lot of cool trips. And I'm very excited to share our credit card tips and strategies with you today. For those of you who are regulars on this show, you already know that we are called the Credit Card BS podcast because those initials reflect the schools that Shaun and I attend, Berkeley and Stanford, respectively. But as always, we've put aside our differences today to talk about credit cards and travel rewards. Today's episode, airline cards suck. Now, I just want to start out and qualify it and say what I mean by this, or what we mean by this, is that airline co-brand cards, while they can be useful for some people in certain limited circumstances, we generally believe they don't provide the best long-term value.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think some of them, we'll talk about a few keeper cards later in the episode that could make sense. I have some airline cards myself, but most of my focus has been on hotel cards and the transferable points cards because those can provide significantly better value. A lot of times people are like, oh, I fly this airline, so I should get this airline card. And it kind of locks them into this mentality of, oh, I should fly this airline because I have this credit card. And oh, I have this credit card because I fly this airline. And that's kind of what they're after. So they're not really after providing you the value. They're after kind of tricking you into flying their airline or staying in their program. Whereas a lot of times there's better options out there that you need to consider.
Yeah, and I generally tell people, getting airline credit cards in the early game can lock you out of better value that you could have gotten elsewhere. One common question I get from people is like, oh, I fly Delta very often, or I fly United very often because they're a hub where I live or where I work or where I go to often. Should I pick up a Delta card or should I pick up a United card? And generally, my answer is no, because I think they can unlock better value, including for Delta and for United, using other non-airline co-branded cards that are more generally travel oriented that will actually yield more value. And just as an example, if you get a Delta card from American Express, that will eat up one of your 524 slots. By the way, check out our episode on the Chase 524 rule in episode 6, because that's a huge impact on your strategy. And you just ate up a whole slot that could have gone to something like the Chase Sapphire Preferred, where the sign-up bonus could be like 60,000 to 80,000 points, easily $1,000 or $2,000 value and spend. Instead, you got these 40,000 or 50,000 Delta Sky Miles as your sign-up bonus, and those are terrible value, as we'll get into later. So it's not just about this isn't the best card and there are better cards out there, but literally by locking yourself into an airline credit card, that can have a huge opportunity cost. And I tell people sometimes when you open one of these bad airline credit cards, you're literally flushing thousands of dollars down the toilet because it locks you out of better sign-up bonuses and better cards. So I think let's just dive into some of the problems we see with airline credit cards. So I think a big one is that generally airline credit cards, at least the useful ones, have annual fees, but they don't provide long-term value in the form of keeper perks. So Shaun, why don't you kind of define for us what is meant by a keeper card?
Yeah, so a keeper card is kind of like the dividend stock earning card of the credit card world. So the idea is you pay in an annual fee, maybe it's $95, maybe it's more, but you receive perks that are greater in value every single year by paying that annual fee. So the most common example of this is with hotel cards. You, like with the World of Hyatt card, you put in $95 to the annual fee, you get a free night certificate that is worth more than the annual fee, significantly more than the annual fee, and you didn't have to do any spending on the card. And so we don't see this very frequently on airline cards. A lot of them have annual fees, and the benefits you get with them a lot of times would require like spending. So notably on like the American Airlines cards or the Alaska cards, they have these companion certificates, which could be very useful normally, but you have to spend money on the card, a fairly significant amount. So on the Alaska card, it's $6,000 per calendar year, not too bad. I think on the American Airlines cards, though, it's $30,000 a year to get these companion certificates that are like not even that good. And so you're paying this annual fee and you're not really getting much back.
Are these
Now,
certificates that can be used multiple times, or are they one-time use?
single-use certificates. If they were multiple time certificates, we'd be talking then. And Southwest offers something like that, but that's a whole different ballgame there. On these, it's single use certificates, and you still have to pay. It's not even like free. It's like you buy one ticket, the second's like $99 or $121 for Alaska. So, like, depending on your flight, like if you're taking some huge itinerary, then it could make sense. But it's honestly not even that good considering the amount of spend you need to do for it and the annual fees. And these, it's just not, you're not getting that much value. One of the biggest values I will say for airline cards is probably with the free checked bag benefit. So a lot of these cards and the annual fee ones, if you're flying United without any status or like Alaska without any status, you usually have to pay for your checked bag. But if you have the credit card and you book the reservation with the credit card, they will give you a complimentary first, or maybe if it's a higher tier card, second checked bag for free for you and some of your companions. This can make sense, but Sherwin, what's your opinion on the checked bag
I
benefit?
mean, I personally don't find that much value in them, mainly because I fly Southwest, which gives you 2 free check bags regardless of your status or your credit card. I really love that perk. It saves me so much money, and oftentimes I won't even check airline prices of other airlines because I know it's, Southwest, I'll be getting those 2 free check bags with or without credit cards. But, I think, you can do the math yourself. Like if you're flying United or Delta or American without status like every other week or even every few months, and you will need that check bag, yeah, then those check back fees can outweigh the annual fee. But I wouldn't say it's an automatic keeper perk in my bag the same way that a hotel certificate is, right? Like the Hyatt card, every year, $95 annual fee, if I get a certificate worth $200 to $300, that's a card I will never cancel. I will never down because I know I will consistently get that value, right? I can't say the same thing for these airline cards, even with the free check bag. But maybe, in the future, if I end up flying a lot more and I need to bring more things, yeah, it might make sense for me. But, where I am right now, I can't confidently say these free check bags are, a keeper perk in my view. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I think because the difference with like the hotel certs is that you only need to spend one night to get value out of the certificate, but you need to take multiple flights, checking bags each time to even begin to get value out of it. And also remember, there's kind of this like weird, awkward zone here where if you fly a ton, you're better off just getting status because that would come with the check bags anyways, and you'd be eligible for upgrades and stuff. But if you don't fly at all, then the check bags are useless. So it could work if you're someone that flies a decent amount on this specific airline for whatever reason, and you check a bag every time. Then I will concede it can make sense in those cases. There are some other niche cases as well we can go into in a little bit, but for a lot of people tend to get sucked into this, especially when they're
Yeah.
doing these spending. Let's say like they like to fly Delta or whatever, and they want to earn their Sky Pesos. These cards, they don't earn transferable points. So when you're earning on like your general spending, if it's only like 1x on these very limited currencies, like 1x Delta mile, that's trash. Like these Sky rubles aren't going to get you anywhere.
Dude, like, I think Delta miles are worth, like, what, 1.2 cents per point or whatever. Like, you're gonna do better with a 2% cashback card, and then cashing it out and buying your Delta flights than earning 1x Delta miles. And, that's another big problem I have with these airline cards. Generally, you're only earning 1x points on all spend, and I would say subject to a few exceptions. If you're earning 1x points on any spend, you're taking an L because at the very minimum, you should be getting, 1.5 on the Chase Freedom Unlimited or Chase Ink Unlimited, if not 2x on cards like the City Double Cash, the Capital One Venture X, the American Express Blue Business Plus. And those cards earn 2x points on any spend, regardless of category. And those points can be transferred to these airlines. So not only are they more flexible, but you're earning at a higher multiplier. There's literally no reason to be earning be putting spend on these co-branded cards. I'll give you a very easy example that illustrates this. The United Explorer card has a $95 annual fee, and it earns 1x points on all purchases. I mean, 1x miles, same thing. And then 2x miles, I think, on United purchases and dining, right? Why on earth would I ever spend money on this where I could, be putting this 1.5x on my Ink Unlimited or Freedom Unlimited? I'm getting 3x on dining on any of the Freedom cards or the Sapphire cards. And those points can literally be transferred to United. I think United is shooting themselves in the foot, basically, with these non-competitive multipliers. I can literally just be earning the points in the Ultimate Rewards ecosystem and then transferring to United. That would actually give me a higher return spending on the United card itself. And not to mention, these Ultimate Rewards points are more valuable and can be transfer to other different airline partners or hotels like Hyatt. What do you think, Sean?
100%. I think also like United just devalued their miles like a couple days ago, and they're in the tank again, and it's absolutely ridiculous that you could earn these miles, you could be earning these horrible multipliers, and then eventually when you get close enough to an award, they completely nuke the redemption rates. And but if you're in Ultimate Rewards, you're protected because okay, I just don't transfer to United now, I transfer to Hyatt, which is arguably I would say a better value anyways.
Yeah.
So it makes
I
no
love
sense.
these
Yeah.
I love these transferable currency cards because then you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Whether it's Citi, Capital One, Chase, American Express, if one program devalues, you still have other options. Whereas if you're just earning that airline's points and then oops, they devalue, then like you just lost out and you have nowhere to go.
I agree, especially the ones that are like dynamic pricing based are the worst because they'll just change it without. I mean, even the ones that are award chart based, to be honest, still have like bad practices. Like Virgin Atlantic had the partnership with ANA, and they just kind of screwed up the redemption rates one day without any warning. And so when
Yeah.
you get stuck in these airline programs, your miles just overnight become less valuable without you having any chance to redeem or doing anything about it. But if
Yeah.
in the Chase Ultimate Rewards, like okay, you won't transfer them over until you already know what you're going to do with them. And I think it's just something that it's really such a shame that people are getting sucked into these. And I can see why, like when you're flying on like United or American, they're doing these like credit card pitches every flight. Like, oh, you get this many miles, which is worth this much, travel or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm
And
just like, dude, get a Sapphire card. Like that's gonna give you more value on this airline than that airline's credit card most of the time. Mm.
yeah, I agree. It's
Yeah.
like there's really no case. The only case you could ever really say when you're doing on these airline cards is maybe on American Airlines, maybe because you can
Yeah.
just directly earn status by spending on those cards. And American Airlines miles are the only legitimate U.S. like big three airline currency that is really worth anything anymore, right? I
Other
mean,
than
like
Alaska, I would say.
well, I mean, Alaska's not a big three, but Alaska is
Sure.
very, very valuable as well. But you can simultaneously earn very, very valuable American Airlines miles and directly earn status by spending on those cards. So I will say
Yeah.
you do have a case for those in some circumstances. But the other ones like Delta, let's get out of here with Delta. This is an amateur hour, right?
I think
Like
United used to be decent, good, but they've just devalued themselves over and over again, or they don't
they
even
keep,
have a
yeah,
reward. Yeah, and I think that this brings me into our next point, which is that it is just generally hard to get outsized value with miles for domestic travel, and that's not where I would spend my energy collecting credit card points on. I mean, Delta has pretty much pegged their currency at a fixed value relative to the cash rate. We see this often with even American and United. If you're booking domestic flights, it's hard to get over 1.3, 1.4 cents per point. Southwest is always fixed at around 1.4 or 1.5 cents per point. You're not going to get like the really high value that you can get from booking like an international business class or international first class flights using a fixed award chart in which the prices do not change or fluctuate based on the cash price. I think most domestic airlines have now realized that because availability matters to people so much, they would rather just abandon an award chart that only has safer availability and go to like a dynamic pricing model, which I don't know how you feel about this, Sean, but I think at this point, if these miles are not earning you outsized value and are just tied to cash rates, we might as well be doing better and earning cash back if you're
I
focused on domestic travel.
100%. I think, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, there's good availability on this. I'm happy they have dynamic availability. I think that's a really stupid argument when people say that because if you care so much about availability, just earn cash back. The
Yeah.
point of earning miles is the sole purpose of getting outsized value. When they start turning them into these dynamic, fluctuating currencies, that's just cash back. I would rather just have cash and be able to do whatever I want with it if you're gonna, treat the miles like that. The whole purpose of miles is to be able to attain something I couldn't do or to be able to get outsized value. So
Yeah.
when they're doing these stupid dynamic pricing models where it turns it to cash, like they're thinking like, oh, our customers like flexibility. Sure, some people like that, but then just earn cash back. Don't like, let's not waste our time with these made up currency that doesn't mean anything. I think also like there are ways that you can sometimes get value, domestic flights, but not with the miles, not with like the airlines miles directly. Like if you want to fly United, there's basically no better way to do that than with Turkish miles, right? Turkish miles, you can book Star Alliance domestic flights in the United States for 7,500 miles one way in economy. that is going to be the cheapest you're able to find, I think, out of any program for almost any single routing, assuming there's saver
Yeah.
availability. So it's like just earn those Turkish miles instead. Don't,
Right, and those transfer
yeah,
from Capital One and Citi, right? Remember Capital
and
One,
Bill.
Citi, and Bill, right? And Capital One, Venture X, you're earning 2x on everything already. Why would I earn the 1x United miles over that? Or Citi has such good multipliers. Episode 2, I talked about some of them. You're getting 2x basically on everything with the double cash and 3x on a bunch of categories. Whereas with the United cards, you're only earning 1x, on everything and 2x on dining or some other categories. It's a joke to me that, people still fall for this. And I think what's the most comical is that like United Explorer, you're earning 2x miles on United purchases on your own stuff. Whereas if I paid for my United flight using like a City Premier or a Sapphire Reserve, the Ink Preferred or whatever, I'm earning 3x points.
3x
Heck, even 5x from the
on the
American Express
platinum.
Platinum card, right? So, don't put spend on these. Maybe put spend on it to get to welcome bonus. Maybe if it's American card to get status. Otherwise, there's no point.
Yeah, I think the only mileage, like United and Delta are like both awful now. I think Delta especially is like the worst offender here. There's just no way to get outsized value, especially because I appreciate how, like, for example, on Southwest, like there's no way to get outsized value, but how are you going to get outsized value on a Southwest flight anyways? They don't even have first class or like business class at all. So like I'm expecting that, right? But on Delta, where they have these very nice business class products, there's no way to get any type of good redemption value. And like even on their partners, it's kind of like it feels like a bait and switch, right?
Yeah.
They're
I
kind
would
of
say even
tricking
if you
people
like
into it.
Southwest, I wouldn't put the spend on the Southwest cards that only earn
Yeah.
1x. You can transfer ultimate rewards to Southwest. Not that I would do so, but and those have better multipliers, as I've already mentioned. Shaun, what do you think
Definitely.
about the credit airline credit cards that have higher annual fees that come with lounge access, like the United Club card, Admirals Club on the American side?
I think it's interesting because I will say, depending on where you're based out of, they could have substantial value. Because let's say you always fly out of a United hub or an American hub where that has a nice United club or Admirals club, then it can be worth it because there are airline, hubs that don't have Centurion lounges where the priority pass lounges suck and that's going to be your best lounge option. So I will say that can have more value, especially because some of them like allow a good amount of guests and these lounges may be a significantly higher quality than their priority pass equivalents because priority pass lounges like are awful in the United States for the most part. So if there's no Centurion lounge and other options, they can have good value, but they don't ever really come with any kind of credits to offset that fee versus like premium travel cards like Sapphire Reserve, Platinum. Those come with a lot of credits to help you pay for the annual fee even before the perks. These type of cards, you're just paying for the perks. So don't consider like, oh, I'm getting this credit card for $500. I'm getting a lounge membership for $500. Now, that's still a good deal compared to what they sell these lounge memberships at. It's still a discount. It's like you should almost never be purchasing a lounge membership directly with the airline. You should be getting it with the credit card, even if it's annual fee credit card. But yeah, I think a lot of times it's highly situational. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I would only be interested if I'm really loyal to that airline and actually, fly them and use that lounge, which is not the case for me. There is a case to be made, I think, for the Admirals Club card, the one with American, that's like 450 annual fee or something. You can add like a huge number of authorized users, and they also get a lounge. So I mean, if you add a bunch of them and you all split the annual fee, like it could be a very cheap way to do it. But I think that's a very limited advanced use case that probably does not apply to most people.
Yeah. I think like, yeah, it's also, I think not only just like which airline hub are you based out of, but like what is the quality of the lounge? Because, which terminal do you fly out
Yeah.
of? Because a lot of times, if there's a Centurion lounge like next door, that's probably, I would assume most times there's going to be higher quality than like an Admirals Club or a United Club. I mean, it depends, of
Yeah,
course, but
that's
I've never
true.
been that impressed with at least United Clubs. Like they're
It just
okay.
depends on the airport you fly out of, I think. Oh,
Yeah.
also for Delta, if you have the American Express Platinum card, you get access to the Delta lounges when you're flying Delta. So, that may be an option instead of getting a Delta co-branded card. Just keep in mind.
That's true. And yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, although the Delta lounges have gotten so overcrowded, but I agree
that is
because I think
true.
you only get access to the Sky Clubs as well when flying Delta, even if you have the Delta Reserve card. So like that benefit to me is completely like
Yeah.
ruined because I could just get the Platinum instead.
Yeah, I think airlines are now turning into banks when they're treating people with the credit card better in terms of lounges than like their most loyal customers, which is,
Yeah.
questionable, but that's just how the game is played here. All right, so now that we've kind of roasted these cards, I feel like we should, talk about when it might make sense to get um these credit cards, airline credit cards. What are the limited use cases? What might make sense for someone to do it? I'll start with one. I think some cards are useful for getting just the first year for the sign up bonus and then subsequently downgrading or canceling it, right? I think American Airlines cards and Alaska cards, especially when they have the elevated offers of at least 60 to 80K, those make sense because American Alaska miles are very valuable, but they're very hard to earn because they don't transfer from the major bank currencies easily like other ones do. Um, I mean, American transfers from Built, but it's hard to earn Built points on Moss. So I think American Alaska cards good for the sign up bonuses. They're elevated, but probably I wouldn't keep them long term. I mean, I think there was an argument back then for the Alaska card when it automatically came with the companion certificate each year, but now they changed it so that you just spend $6,000 on it for that certificate, which kind of trashes the value of the cards unless you're really into that free check bag. I'd probably downgrade it or cancel it the second year. What do you think, Shaun?
100% agree. I think the only real use case for keeping them would mainly, yeah, again, be the check bag or with the American Airlines cards. If you're using them to earn status, that is the only real exception. Because again, American Airlines, if you spend 200K on the card, you have their top tier status. And so that could be pretty useful depending on, depending on your use case. And then I think for some of the other ones, keeping the cards is mainly just to earn status. So for like Delta, it's a much more complicated system, but you can get like, they have like the medallion qualifying dollars. So
Waiver.
yeah, you get like a waiver if you spend X amount on the card. But again, it still depends because you still have to fly to still get
Yeah.
the status. So it's not like it's easy as American Airlines. Southwest does have an interesting one as well, where you can earn. So Southwest has a status called Companion Pass, where it's effectively an unlimited pass while you hold it that you can add a companion on. They fly for nearly for free as many times as you want to fly. So it's like a kind of like a buy one, get one. And you can earn that just by spending on the card. So if you spend 115,000 on the card or 110,000 on the card, you'll get it because you need 125,000 Southwest qualifying points. But you start out with like a waiver if you hold the credit card. I forget the exact amount on that. And then if you
I
spend
mean, I
the
think the
rest,
way to play it is to open a Southwest business card and a personal card or two Southwest business cards because the points from the sign up bonuses count toward like the Southwest companion pass. So you wouldn't need to be
definitely.
spending $100,000. You just need to be spending however much it takes for you to reach the sign up bonuses.
Yeah, that would
Maybe
be a
we'll do an
much
episode on
smarter play
this
to
in the
do.
future, but there are resources out there on the Southwest companion pass. Go look at it. But I think this one is definitely more valuable than other one-off companion certificates. That's only good for one. Southwest, you have it for like the whole year, possibly the year after as well.
Yeah,
So
I hold it right now, and it's pretty nice. I haven't used it as much as I was expecting, to be honest. Like I was expecting I'd be using it like all the time. It's, I think, to be entirely honest, I've been getting very sick of flying Southwest. Just I hate their whole boarding process now. Even on a like an economy flight on United or something, just knowing my seat is just so much less stressful. But I will agree, getting half off on the ticket and the 2 free check bags is like really, really powerful. But it's situational. I like the companion pass. Should we talk now about some of the keeper airline cards? Because there are a few of them.
sure, yeah. So I think one that comes to mind is the Southwest Priority card. Even though we just roasted Southwest, it has a $149 annual fee, but each year automatically when you pay the annual fee and renew it, you get 7,500 anniversary points, which is worth about $100-ish.
Something like that.
You can multiply that by 1.4 plus a $75 Southwest credit, right? So these two benefits alone make up the annual fee. And these are actual tangible credits and points that can be used toward flights. So I find this more like a keeper perk, unlike some of the other cards that don't come with these anniversary bonuses or credits. You also get 4 upgraded boardings. Shaun, do you want to kind of talk about that? Yeah, I think you've used this benefit before.
I've used the upgraded one, and they've made this a lot better. So it used to be the case, and this is really annoying. So just if you're not aware how Southwest works, right? It's all open seating. So your seat is basically determined by your boarding position. So you check in at 24 hours before, the earlier you check in, like at that 24-hour mark, the better boarding position you get. But if you purchase the top tier ticket, like the business ticket, you're guaranteed one of the first 15 slots. But those don't always all sell out, right? They don't always sell the 15 highest business tickets. So they used to be the case where once you showed up at the airport the day of departure, you could purchase those just the boarding slot, not the other perks of that high-end ticket, but just the boarding like position. And it would be like, 40-ish dollars. It depends on your route. Like could be cheaper, could be more expensive. But they made it better because now you can purchase it online. So 24 hours before at check-in, right after you check in, if there are still slots open in that A1 to A15 like area, you can purchase upgraded boarding and be guaranteed one of those spots. And these cards reimburse it, regardless of how much it is. It's just it reimburses it one segment, one person, 4 times. So basically 2 round trips per person per card. And this is a very good perk because when you are able to purchase it, it basically guarantees you're going to get a fine seat. The only thing I will preface is there are a lot of people abusing the Southwest pre-boarding system where they just claim to have disabilities they don't have. And it's a very sad system because like there are people that legitimately like need to board early. And now they're kind of getting a bad rap because there are just people that are straight up faking it just to board early. And so there'll still be a lot of people boarding before you, but it still does mean you're going to get a fine seat. Like you're not going to be stuck in a middle seat or whatever. You'll get an aisle seat. You may be able to grab exit row. And so it's a cool perk. I've used it. It's fairly easy to use. There's only been like one or two times I've never like they've been sold out on these things.
Okay, cool. So it could be good value because usually these can cost anywhere from like $30 to $60 depending on the route. Um, Shaun, do you want to talk about the other? Actually, before that, there are 2 other Southwest personal cards that have lower annual fees. I think there's a Plus and a Premier, but arguably, I think the Priority, just the more expensive one that I just talked about, is the only one worth keeping because the Plus and the Premier only have anniversary points that don't really cover the entire annual fee. To be honest, I think you're actually losing out more by going for a lower annual fee card. Whereas the Priority card, even though it's a higher annual fee, when you add the $75 credit and the points together, it's more than worth it. So, my opinion is if you're going to go for a Southwest card, just pick the Priority card. Don't even look at the other 2.
100% agree. No question.
Yeah.
Definitely go for the Priority.
Okay, what's the other Southwest Keeper card?
So the other Southwest keeper card, and this is less of a keeper card to be honest, but I still find it to be a keeper card, is their top tier business card. So it's the Southwest Performance. Now, this is a $199 annual fee. You get 9,000 Southwest anniversary points. So that's, you're not covering the annual fee yet. You also get 4 upgraded boardings similar to the top tier personal card. So that's pretty good. The upgraded boardings are pretty legitimate. The anniversary points are pretty legitimate. But one of my favorite perks is you get 365 Wi-Fi rebates per year. Weird that it's 365, but so I could purchase Wi-Fi on Southwest flights 365 times in the card and have it reimbursed each time. So basically it's unlimited free Wi-Fi, which is pretty nice because a lot of other airlines do charge for it. And, so every time I'm on a Southwest flight, I don't even worry about it anymore. I'm like, okay, let me get my phone, laptop, tablet, girlfriend's phone, laptop, tablet, right? Anything I want. Like, I haven't done this yet, but you could literally just go to your neighbors too and probably like, hey, you want free Wi-Fi? And they'll be very happy, I'm sure. Because,
Yeah.
right, no way you're going to use all the credits. So it's a really nice perk. Being able to have Wi-Fi the whole flight, it makes it, able to do a lot more and it's a better perk. And if you go for both of these cards, when they have high sign-up bonuses, you can definitely earn the Southwest Companion Pass. And so that's also a really nice perk because if you're able to do that, then you're earning, or the value you're being able to extract is just so much higher. Having a buy one, get one free unlimited pass. And the only thing if you do this, make sure to earn it at the beginning of the calendar year because the way Companion Pass works is it's the full calendar year that you earn it plus the next calendar year. So you want to earn it at the very beginning of whatever calendar year you're trying to earn it at.
And here's the thing, a lot of times the Southwest elevated sign-up bonuses come near the end of the year in December. So you want to apply for it then, but do not put any spend on it until January comes around. Otherwise, you'll shoot yourself in the foot if you get the bonus early and lose out on the whole year of Companion Pass. Now, the thing with the Southwest Business Performance Card is that it has a $199 annual fee. You get the 9,000 anniversary points, which is worth around $126. So I just did a quick math calculation. You're still left of $73 to justify for the annual fee. Assuming that you don't value the upgraded boardings anything, you'd need to be using Wi-Fi at least 9 to 10 times, I think, just because it costs $8 per Wi-Fi. So Not a slam dunk in my opinion, but if you fly Southwest enough and you really use those Wi-Fi credits, then yeah, go for it. Yeah, I just think it's similar analysis with the check bags question. Like, are you going to use
Yeah.
it enough?
I think the upgraded boardings do help a bit because it is something that is very nice, especially when you're flying on these longer Southwest flights. Like, let's say you forget to check in at 24 hours before, right? Then it's like, oh, okay, I'm still covered. Or let's say you don't want to purchase like early bird check in and stuff like that because it is saving you some money there. I think, but of course, it's going to depend on your situation. But I do think those are legitimate credits. I would like personally at least pay $15 for an upgraded boarding, right? Out of like
Okay.
even if I didn't have these credits, so I would value them at least like $15.
And then I think the final airline keeper card I can think of, there might be more I've missed, but that's okay, is the United Quest card. This one is a $250 annual fee, but each year it comes with $125 United credit, as well as two 5,000-mile award flight credits. Now, I think this is not as good as just giving you 10,000 miles on your anniversary, because the 5,000 miles kind of need to be used during that year and would like expire, and you need to actually do a redemption for them to rebate you. But assuming you're able to use that $125 credit plus 10,000 miles basically in value, that should be enough to justify the 250 annual fee. This card is also solid because it comes with two free check bags, not just one, at a mid-tier annual fee. What do you think, Sean?
I think the one thing also with those award flight credits is I believe they have to be used only on United or United Express operated flights. So I
Oh,
don't
really?
think
That
you can
sucks.
use it on the partners. That I could be wrong on that, but I remember reading that. And so assuming that's the case, that does heavily limit it because you already have to be earning United miles or like especially
Yeah.
let's say you have like a bank of United miles already though. I think it's like a really good card if someone already has the United miles and are going
Okay.
to spend them because then it's like okay, then it's not like, oh, I get this card. Now I got to justify earning extra United miles just to use
Yeah.
these credits year after year. But, and then I think the first and second check bag is fairly decent. You get the $125 credit. I think it's similar to kind of like the Southwest business card in that it is a keeper card if you do fly United a bit, but it's
Yeah.
not like a no brainer keeper card. It's still kind of like, okay, you got to do a little bit of math on it.
Yeah. I would just add, I would probably wouldn't waste a 524 slot on any of these cards. I mean, Southwest, maybe, if I'm already have all the hotel cards I want. But generally, I think the transferable currency cards are just going to get you more value, both from the sign up bonus and from the long term value. So I think I would only, another reason why it might make sense to go for airline card is if you've gotten most of the core cards you need and the hotel keeper cards, or as I said, you really need the perks like the free check bag or the lounge access, or you think the companion certificate is enough to justify the annual fee.
Yeah, definitely agree there.
So I think one last thing I just want to add at the end is, if not the airline credit cards, how am I gonna like what's the best strategy for domestic flights? Given that it's hard to earn outside value domestic flights. Sean, what do you think?
Personally, yeah, my money's all on Turkish miles. I think it's much like not even a, a comparison. I mean, like if you're flying Southwest and getting companion pass, that's probably the other. It's either that or Turkish miles. Like those are my two main bets because again, Turkish miles, any domestic flight in the United States on Star Alliance, so like United in this case, 7,500 miles each way. In economy, only 12,500 miles in business if you can find business saver, which is really tough, but sometimes you can.
Hmm.
And keep in mind, you could do a layover too. So like you could fly from like the East Coast to Hawaii in economy for 7,500. That is like absurdly good. Now,
Yeah.
and saver economy availability isn't that tough to find. So I think it is absolutely like my mind, like, because even on short haul flights, that's probably going to be the best mileage redemption you're going to find. So I think Turkish miles for sure. My second pick would be companion pass on Southwest using, Southwest, like on short haul Southwest flights for using the points there. Or if it's a long haul, like a longer, more expensive Southwest flight, then use like money usually because the points on Southwest like become less valuable the more expensive the flight is usually.
I think those are both solid options, but I am going to have a slightly different take than Sean on this. I think Southwest, I think the points are solid, but I would never transfer my ultimate rewards over, and there's only so many ways
I
you
do
can
want to, I would
earn.
not transfer my ultimate rewards over
Yeah,
either. Let me, yeah.
yeah, for sure. I mean, my strategy for Southwest has been to buy the gift cards from Costco, which give you like 10% off. That's just what I've been doing. Um, for the Turkish thing, I'm also a little hesitant on endorsing it as a strategy that would work for most people, given the availability issues in the United. I mean, you said it's easier to find in some routes, but sometimes there are dates that are high peak that one just needs to travel, and that's not really a long-term strategy. So here's how I would put it. First is, if you're not loyal to a particular airline, consider cashback because it's just so hard to get outsized value for um for domestic flights. The other thing I would say is, and yeah, and cashback would give you better flexibility when you're booking cash tickets. The other thing I would consider, though, Shaw may have a different take, is to go for a travel card gives you a fixed cent per point value on flight purchases. So, for example, Chase Sapphire Reserve will give you 1.5 cents per point when you redeem through the portal. Personally, I don't like the strategy as much because you know, I kind of want to save those points for Hyatt. But if you're someone who really needs the points to fly for domestic travel, that's probably a better option than you trying to go with like the Delta or United strategy we talked about earlier. The one strategy I like a little better is the US Bank Altitude Reserve card. So I talked more about this card in episode 2 of the podcast, but the amazing thing about it is that it earns 3x points on all mobile wallet purchases. And then those points can be redeemed at 1.5 cents per point, pretty much for any flight. You book the flight and you swipe that card for that, and then you'll get a text message on the real-time reward saying, hey, do you want to redeem your points at 1.5 cents per point toward this flight? If you text back and say yes, just do it for you, get the statement credit. I think this might be a good strategy for someone not particularly loyal to any airline, also, wants to at least lock in 1.5 cents per point, unlike the Sky Pesos from Delta we talked about. And you don't have to worry about finding award availability since you're technically booking a cash flight, even if you're reimbursing it with your points. So I think that's something people should consider more seriously if they really need subsidized domestic airline travel. And one other thing I want to add is, I should have mentioned this earlier, is that a lot of these airline co-branded cards don't even come with that good travel protections. So if your flight gets delayed, your bag gets lost or damaged, if you need to cancel your trip because of an unexpected event, oftentimes these don't have the best insurances, and you're better off booking that flight on your Amex Platinum or your Chase Sapphire Reserve or your US Bank Altitude Reserve. So, think about cashback, think about fixed cent per point schemes like the Altitude Reserve or the Chase Sapphire Reserve. That's kind of my take. Shaun, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I will concede with the US Bank Altitude Reserve. I think that could be a viable strategy because earning 4.5% back on mobile wallet general spending is pretty powerful. I Depending on, of course, like where you're spending it at, because like let's say you're doing mobile wallet spending at a restaurant, I would rather just use like my MX Gold there. But let's say it's like mobile wallet at some like general spending store that would never earn, specific categories, then yeah, I will concede that's a pretty good redemption. I would
Yeah.
avoid
It's really good for
using.
Costco in particular because Costco only accepts Visa, and that's a Visa. And if you use your mobile wallet, you're getting 4.5% back. By the way, way better than the Costco credit card, only earns 2% back. And whose sign up bonus is a rotisserie chicken that costs $5. But continue.
Yeah, I think I using Costco would be a very good use case. I think my second pick for Costco would be like the Venture X for the 2x back. I think I would disagree with using the Chase points via the travel portal. One, because you're booking through a portal, which is much worse than booking like on the Altitude Reserve where you can book direct with the airline. And then two is Chase points just have so much potential value that squandering them
Yeah.
on 1.5 at a portal to me is too painful to do. I think for someone that considering that, you should probably evaluate whether or not a card like the Sapphire Reserve really makes sense for you and whether or not focusing on this game makes that much sense because it is a time consuming game to focus on credit cards. And if you're going to only get kind of surface level redemptions, it may just make more sense to put more effort into making more money or something like that because
Mm.
you got to keep in mind that like it is a time sink in this game, and unless you're getting like outsized value, it may not be worth that time. It's just something to consider.
I think that's true. I mean, I agree with you that I wouldn't do the Sapphire Reserve portal strategy, but I'm just saying that for some people, if your only other alternative is earning that airline's miles, which can often lead to less than 1.5 cents per point, then this would be a better strategy comparatively. Not to say that it is the ideal strategy. So that's kind
I'll
of
agree
my
with
final
that.
thoughts
Yeah,
on it.
if that's your only option, then yes, that is definitely going to be a better strategy.
And I think that's all we have for today's show. So, Sean, you want to give us our outro?
Yes. So if you enjoyed today's episode and you want to help us out, please consider using the affiliate links in the description. It helps us out immensely. You have no idea. And yeah, we really hope we've been able to provide value to you today. And if you want to help support us in the YouTube algorithm as well, be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more episodes coming. Let us know in the comments down below what you think and what kind of episodes you want to see in the future.
And thank you, and see you in the next episode. Bye.